James Comey was in court. He self-surrendered. He's now been charged a second time, this time over a social media post with seashells that said 8647. Do you really think that he was endangering your life or threatening your life with that?
Probably. I don't know. You know, based on what I'm seeing out there, yeah, the people like Comey have created tremendous danger, I think, for politicians and others. Comey is a dirty cop. He's a very dirty cop.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. Donald Trump doesn't care about justice. He knows that James Comey's Instagram post last year wasn't a threat. For Trump, this is all political theater. It's about intimidating and harassing his perceived political enemies. And so, at his urging, the Justice Department has indicted James Comey again for posting this. Here's what Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general who is desperately auditioning for the full-time job, had to say about it.
Can you at least give us a sense of whether you have hard evidence or evidence that shows that Mr. Comey intended for President Trump to be harmed? And then secondarily, for critics who say, where does free speech end and an actual threat of violence begin?
I don't know what critics say that, especially today, but it's not a very difficult line to look at. And it's not, in my mind, a difficult line for one to cross over one way or the other. You are not allowed to threaten the President of the United States of America.
I hope everyone appreciates how dark this is getting. A political statement against Donald Trump, which Comey's Instagram post clearly was, is now a prosecutable offense. And even though the DOJ's case is going to fall apart the second it hits a courtroom, that's not the point of this indictment. Donald Trump is demanding that his enemies pay a price. For Comey, that price won't be jail time, much less a conviction, but it will be the energy and the resources it takes to answer these charges. And most of all, the indignity of having to present himself or be arrested so that a defense can be mounted. This was Comey's response on Substack.
Well, they're back. This time about a picture of seashells on a North Carolina beach a year ago. And this won't be the end of it. But nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go. But it's really important that all of us remember this is not who we are as a country. This is not how the Department of Justice is supposed to be. And the good news is we get closer every day to restoring those values. Keep the faith.
I wanted to talk to someone who has also been in the crosshairs of the Trump regime and who understands intimately their intimidation tactics. Miles Taylor served as chief of staff of the Department of Homeland Security under 2 Republican presidents, including Trump. And he knows better than almost anyone how that machinery can be weaponized because he helped build it. He's been in Trump's crosshairs himself, which is why he understands exactly what this Comey indictment is really about. And now he's leading one of the most practical resistance efforts out there, helping communities across the country fight back against the secret network of ICE detention facilities being built in their backyards. Here's our conversation. Miles, thanks so much for joining the show. I definitely want to talk about your new initiative at defiance.org, GTFO ICE, very aptly named, by the way. We'll pick it apart in a second, but I've got to get your reaction to this indictment of James Comey, especially the fact that they issued an arrest warrant. This isn't about the indictment. The big story is the engineered humiliation. I feel like they are going for the optics of this like they didn't last time. They missed the opportunity. And for Trump, it's all about humiliating his enemies. It's actually not about the prosecution, which is going to fall apart at first contact with the legal system. It's about the humiliation.
That's absolutely right. And this is a conversation I had last night with my wife is, she and I, have followed the Comey case closely. I know James Comey. We rallied folks to go protest outside of his arraignment last year. And it struck the two of us that all of the coverage yesterday was about the absurdity of the charges. Rightfully, the charges are ridiculous. Posting 8647 on his Instagram account is not a direct threat to assassinate in seashells. James Comey, clearly any person, you don't have to know him to know he was not intending to incite an assassination of the president of the United States. This is ridiculous. It's all going to fall apart. That's where all the analysis was. And Ken, you're right to point out, people weren't talking about the real outrage here was not that charges were brought. It's that prosecutors sought an arrest warrant. Here is why this matters. Last fall, September 20th, 6:44 p.m. to be specific, Donald Trump put out a social media post telling his attorney general he wanted his enemies prosecuted. On that list was James Comey. In less than a week, they brought charges against James Comey for allegedly lying to Congress, something that was eventually thrown out. But here's the kicker. What happened was, in routine fashion, after those charges were brought, the court issued a summons to James Comey, and he went and, on his own volition, presented himself at the arraignment. Now, in the intervening period, apparently there was a directive from FBI leadership to send, quote, large, beefy men in full kit to go arrest James Comey, to fingerprint him, and to get his mugshot. But the lead agent allegedly resisted that and said, look, according to DOJ policy, this guy's got a summons. He can just present himself. He's not a flight risk or a danger to the public. And that infuriated someone in the Trump administration. I'll let you guess who that someone is, but all we know is that after that refusal, the agent was fired. Yep. And Kash Patel publicly posted that agents who refuse direct orders will be relieved of their duties.
My mom is the reason I am who I am, the kind of person who shows up for everybody. And the photos I love most of her aren't the staged ones. They're the candid shots she never knew I took. Her at the dining room table mid-laugh, or holding a grandkid like she'd been waiting her whole life for that exact moment. The little stuff you don't think to frame until you realize how much you'd give to see it again. I sent my mom an Aura photo frame, and it might be the best gift we've ever gotten her. It sits on the counter and just plays our life back to her. Every day, a different memory. And here's the thing. With Aura, you get free unlimited storage. Add as many photos and videos as you want. You can preload photos before it ships. Keep adding from anywhere, anytime. You can personalize your gift. Add a message before it arrives. Every frame comes in a premium gift box with no price tag. And it was the #1 app in the App Store on Christmas Day in 2025. Make Mother's Day special with Aura frames. Named #1 by Wirecutter, you can save on the gifts moms love by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver Mad frame with code KEN. That's auraframes.com, promo code KEN. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Hey everyone, it's Ken. Super quick break to remind you that I've got a Substack page. Please consider subscribing for exclusive content and bi-weekly Substack lives. And for the next month, every paid subscription goes towards my upcoming reporting trip to Ukraine. Thanks for the support. The link is below. Slava Ukraine.
This is the point here, Ken. These charges were not brought to get a successful prosecution against James Comey. They were brought because last time Donald Trump did not get the thing he wanted, an arrest, a perp walk of James Comey, and a mugshot that he could have. That's why this is happening. And that, in fact, is in some ways even more dangerous than the violation of James Comey's First Amendment rights by bringing this case, because it shows that the president of the United States is bringing selective and vindictive prosecutions to simply humiliate his adversaries. And that could be taken in a lot of very scary directions.
It could be. It's absolutely outrageous. And it requires the complicity of senior folks at DOJ and the FBI. I mean, Kash Patel seems to be doing everything he can to keep his job. Kash Patel's got to be the next to go. I mean, the desperation with which he is clinging to this job, carrying out directives like this, suggests that the clock is ticking.
Clock is ticking. I mean, we all saw it on Saturday when he stood in the White House press briefing room and turned and looked Donald Trump in the eyes to laud him for, his bravery and, his...
My German Shepherd looks at me that way, but that's about the only... That's the only situation where that's okay. The Kash Patel devotion, sorry.
It was so obvious. And now, in just the days since, it's also become so obvious how far he's willing to go to fight for his job. I mean, only half joking, Ken. I look out my window over here and I think black SUVs could roll up any minute because Donald Trump over the past year has repeatedly talked about prosecuting me, investigating me, getting me canceled. I mean, he keeps going back to that well that I've got to think Kash Patel's looking at the list. Here are the folks the president keeps going after. I've got to do something to each of them before they fire me so that they maybe consider keeping me in this job. That's pretty scary stuff. And, no one took it seriously when Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, said yesterday, well, this has been investigated for almost a year against Comey. What has been investigated? He posted a picture that he took down. What else could you investigate? What else could you do? And if they had, Ken, this actually becomes even more scandalous because if the FBI went and sought a warrant from a magistrate judge to go up on clandestine communications of James Comey to try to get more evidence on this, that's an even bigger outrage.
It is. Although I wouldn't be surprised with the incompetence of this FBI that they have spent a year spinning their wheels on this Instagram post. That's a little tongue in cheek, but I definitely we got to get to the GTFO stuff because it's absolutely brilliant. But have you been following this story about the Capitol police officer who was targeted by the administration as the potential pipe bomber and the arrest warrant that they served on her home with a SWAT team, with a helicopter, while presumably they already had evidence on the actual pipe bomber? They created this theatrical arrest. You've got to be thinking about that when you look out your window. I mean, they actually do this kind of thing to innocent people.
It is all about the theater because they know their boss. I know their boss. We had conversations with him in the Oval Office about creating a spectacle when he wanted to draw attention in the news. And it was something that, Ken, with some regularity, we had to push back against is, at least when I was there, the Department of Homeland Security, we were not willing to go conduct law enforcement operations to create an action movie that the president could go brag about. That wasn't right. That wasn't the way to do our jobs. And there were even illegal requests for us to do things like that. We could spend a whole day talking about the different ways the president wanted us to break the law to make a show. That's wrong. I'm not willing to go to prison for that guy. And I'm no hero for saying no to that. It's the bare minimum you all expect from your public servants is that they don't go break the law for the president of the United States. But, this is also, I think, Ken, an indicator of what is to come. I go back to something I said a year ago, which is Donald Trump has at least one goal in his revenge campaign. He wants a montage of mugshots of his adversaries. Burned into his memory is that sort of guess who montage that was created after Donald Trump and his allies committed actual crimes. There was probable cause for those crimes. They were investigated. They were arrested. And there's that famous picture of Trump in the center and all of the people who'd been arrested around him. He wants to recreate that. The only difference is this time, those cases have to be built on false information, defamation, and lies. And those lies, unfortunately, are going to be heavy enough to sink the United States Constitution, even though they will also sink the associated cases. That's what we have to be worried about, is the precedent that this is setting.
Well, let's talk about another egregious assault on the Constitution and on the basic civil liberties it guarantees, and that's ICE and these camps, which your organization has referred to as concentration camps. That is strong language.
Well, folks can go check it out. It's very, very straightforward. GTFOICE.org. Basically, we've teamed up with a number of other nonprofit pro-democracy organizations to create a rapid response network related to these secret prisons all around the country, these prison camps that the Trump administration is building. And I don't say that lightly. For anyone who doesn't understand what's happening, right now the Trump administration has a plan in place funded with $40 billion to build a prison system overseen by DHS that is bigger than the existing federal prison system, right? The entire federal prison system overseen by DOJ, Donald Trump wants to build a separate one in DHS overseen by DHS. Less accountability, less oversight, lower standards, more control for the president. Wants his own prison system. Not a joke. I'll tell you specifically, there's 152,000 prison beds in the Justice Department's prison system. Once this DHS plan is finished, there may be close to 200,000 prison beds in the DHS system. I know a little bit about this. I spent 2 Republican presidential administrations in leadership at helping to build the Department of Homeland Security. I can tell you unequivocally, DHS does not need that much detention capacity, especially not for immigration. If immigration is supposed to be focused, as the administration said, on getting the worst of the worst in this country, there is more than enough detention space to arrest the rapists, the criminals, the murderers that are here illegally, and then some. So one of 2 things must be true. They got the number wrong, and they're building something way too big that they don't need, or they're trying to build it for purposes beyond their stated purposes. And I believe it is the latter. And I worry that in the wrong hands, like their hands, the United States becomes a police state. So we built this effort, Ken, to rapidly alert anyone who signs up around the country if one of these prisons is being built in their community, and we give them a toolkit on how to push back. And this works. This has been successful. Our partners who we've teamed up with have stopped some of these facilities around the country. This is not some hopeless, quixotic protest effort that's going to fail. It's worked. We have stopped some of these things around America. We are going to stop more of them, but it starts with rapid alert and rapid response, and anyone can sign up for free to be made aware when these things pop up.
That was an excerpt of my conversation with Miles Taylor. For the full interview, check out my Substack. The link's below. Thanks.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.